Hey, what's up, guys? This is Negative. This video is about PadPipe Stream Overlay software. As you can see, works very well, updates very quickly, does what it needs to do, even if the code's a little shitty in places, but it gets the job done. Now, first thing I'm going to do is teach you how to set it up, give you a brief overview of how to set it up after you've installed the things you need, and then how to customize it. So first thing we're going to need is to install the Massive's adapter drivers. So it's kind of like Zadig. Massive has its own version, and it comes with this important thing called the GameCube USB feeder. So like, for example, sometimes it says GCN USB feeder, sometimes it says Wii USB GCN adapter, but this is what you want. You're going to run it, and what this is going to do is it's going to allow for the official adapter to be detected by PadPipe, because normally it just doesn't. If you use a Mayflash, as long as it's detected without, as long as PadPipe can detect it, then you're fine. But I don't know, because I don't have a Mayflash. I haven't been able to test that. And without getting too far into the weeds, inside your folder for your profile, there's a map.json. And so, for example, GCN N64 USB v2, this is the RAFnet. Down below that, VJoy device, this is what you're going to see for when you use Massive's drivers with the official. And if that's not working for Mayflash, then what you can do is just run regular old PadPipe with your Mayflash, do your normal button mapping stuff, and then take that data, copy paste it into the file I just showed you, map.json, and you should be good to go. So I'm sure someone can rig that up and get it working if it doesn't already work out of the box. But let's get back into, the brass tacks stuff here. So we've got the GameCube USB adapter driver running. When we click start, it's going to start the driver, detect the ports, 1, 2, 3, 4, they should be okay. And it's going to say that it successfully started, and it enters the input loop. We want to see that. If you don't see that, after waiting a little while, just hit stop and hit start again, all right? So one thing we can do is we can go to configuration. We can configure the dead zones for our controllers. So we want to be able to detect like 0 for our dead zone input for these. So make sure you put that. And then LR trigger, I mean, you don't have to change them. It works fine with them at whatever. But yeah, make sure that when you change these, that if you copy paste your whole PadPipe directory onto a new computer and you're expecting it to just run right out of the box, and it's not like unpressing the directions that you've been pressing because it's not detecting neutral, that you don't forget to go in here and make your inputs match, because we're going to run a calibration wizard later, and so we're calibrating our controller to have specific inputs, like what is my neutral input being read as. So whatever we use when we set it up, that's what we're going to need to have it set to when it's running on some other computer too. So anyways, Windows gamepad info, right? This is some basic stuff. Here I see all 4 VJoy devices, and I'm just going to press buttons, and this is what I want to see. I want to see buttons being pressed and the joystick moving around, right? So clearly I'm using VJoy device 0, that's the top one, and then 1, 2, and 3. Some computers it's like in reverse order, and like VJoy device 3 happens to be the one that runs for port 0 on my official adapter. Strangely enough, just figure out which one is actually being detected. So here I've got 0, so that's what I'm going to use when I'm actually running the software, right? So the next thing that we want is we got to have PadPipe installed. And if we look here, I've got a folder called install these dependencies. It's going to come with the zip, and it's got Python 2.7.8. That's the particular version of Python we're using. Pygame 1.9.1, Windows 32-bit for Python 2.7. Gonna have that in there as well. And we need PGU, Python Gaming, something or other, 0.1.8. We need that as well. And also we need pip. So I got get pip, and I've got some instructions here for how to install pip and Pygame and PGU and stuff. So, you know, you should have what you need there. There's a couple different Smashboards threads about how to get Pygame running, and or how to get PadPyte running, right? And so just follow those. Get normal PadPyte working, because this is just a heavy modification of PadPyte. So once we have that going, you'll see in the PadPyte directory, there is a skins folder, and each of these folders is a different profile. So I've got like Marth, I've got Smashbox, right? And all you got to do is make a new folder and then name it whatever you want, and it's going to show up in your list of profiles. So let's fire up the actual software here. And as you can see, it's modified. It's got the input devices as well as the profiles. I'm going to just go with VJoy 0 and Smashbox. And once I've started it, it's going to save what my last option that I went with was. It's going to remember those two things. So when you fire up this next time, you don't actually have to select these anymore. It's going to remember. So it just saves you a little bit of time and effort every time you start it up. So we're going to go to map and map our buttons, right? And so it says, let's map our buttons. Pay attention to the window title in the top left corner and click on the requested button in order to map it. So first it's going to ask, do we have any duplicate buttons? No, I do not. But if you had like 2 B buttons or 2 C downs or whatever, then we need to say yes, if you have at least 1 duplicate button. But I don't. Are you mapping a button for up? Yes, I am. So now it says, please click on the button for up. Well, I'm going to put it here. Okay, cool. Are you mapping a button for down? Yes, I am. It's going to go there. Left, right, C up. Yes, indeed. C down. Don't mind if I do. So you're going to click on all the buttons, and it's going to ask you about like if you have mode mapped, if you're using tilt 1, tilt 2, tilt 3, X1, X2, X3, invert, flip, mirror, you know, all of those types of buttons. So some of them you won't have mapped, and that's fine. Like, you know, maybe you don't have D-pad mapped. I don't have D-pad mapped. So if you don't, just click, no, I don't have that button. I don't have that button. I don't have that button, right? And you're going to work all the way through it. But these are for which buttons it says you're physically mapping to your Smashbox surface, right? So you can have tilt 3 and you use tilt 3 angles, but you don't have a tilt 3 button assigned, right? Like you have tilt 1 and tilt 2 and you press both of them to get your tilt 3. Then when it asks you if you're mapping a button for tilt 3, say no, because you're not putting it on the surface of your box. That's what it wants to know right here. So I'm just going to quit out of this and go back in, you know, skip that. It only saves your remapping when you complete it at the end. So I'm just going to go over here. We're going to go to the next step, right? Once we've mapped it, we're going to go to calibrate. So we're going to calibrate. So here it's loaded up my particular mapping. You can see my buttons are all in different places. Like this is my profile that I use. And it says, okay, this test records your control stick and modifier settings for the Smashbox. So we're going to read the prompt for each test, answer yes and no to perform or skip that test, and then when testing, we're going to hold the required buttons and press the A button. So, cool. First, let's measure unmodified joystick inputs. So it's going to give us directions up here in the title, right? So it says, press each of the 4 directions just to jumpstart polling, let it go back to neutral, press the A button. Cool. So now it knows what my neutral is. And then it says press left and A. So we're going to hold left, and while left is held, we press the A button. Then left and up is held. We press A, right? So each of the times, it just goes in a circle, right? Up, right, right down, down, left down, done. But we're holding the direction and then pressing the A button while the direction's held, right? Because we can press whatever directions we want. In the meantime, it only locks in what's currently being held when the A button gets pressed. keep the current values. If I made a mistake, I can say no and redo those. But I'm happy with mine. Tilt 1, look, you know, maybe I am, maybe I'm not, right? I can skip it. No, I'm not. I mean, I am, but, you know, whatever. Tilt 2, sure, why not, right? So I'm going to do tilt 2. So it wants tilt 2 and left up, right, right down, left down, done. Tilt 3, sure, why not, right? And, you know, obviously if I didn't have tilt 1 and I didn't map tilt 3, I wouldn't, but, you know, whatever. So, and you can see once you know that it's literally just a clockwise circle every time for the tilts, easy day. You can just map these very, very quickly. X1, so now it's a little different, right? It's not going to ask you some of the directions that are pure up and down. So it's only the diagonals or the straight horizontals, right? So it's left, then left and up, then right and up, then right, right down, left down, right? And maybe I made a mistake. I'm going to say, you know what? Let me redo that. I messed it up. So left, left up, right, right down, done. And you're going to do that for all your buttons. Then it's going to ask you if you're using mode. And if you're using mode, then it's going to have you do all those combinations for the different modifiers. So tilt 1, tilt 2, tilt 3, X1, X2, X3, Y1, Y2, Y3, but with mode held as well. And so once you've got all those, now you've properly calibrated. It's going to save that. And you should be good to go to just run the software. So there it is. And you can see, you know, whatever you're pressing, it detects. If I'm pressing, let's say, tilt 1 and up right, there it is. If you've got ambiguous directions, right? Like if my up right is the same for tilt 1 and tilt 2, then, you know, it has a different like priority list. So it prioritizes some stuff like, for example, tilt 3 over tilt 2 over tilt 1, or, you know, Y2 over Y1, etc. So just know that, you know, if you've got an ambiguous direction, like it's the same for multiple modifiers, it has to just figure out, you know, which one to actually highlight. And one thing that it does is it remembers the last one that you pressed. So like, let's say that Y1 and Y2 are the same for upright, which it is for me, right? My up, left, and upright are the same. I'm actually holding Y1 right now. But it can detect down right. So now when I press upright, you see Y1 is the one that's actually highlighted because the last button that was pressed was Y1 within a certain number of frames, I think about 60 frames or something. So whatever I have it set to. So it'll remember the last modifier you used, and it'll prioritize that over the other one in an ambiguous situation, just so that, you know, it has a better chance of actually properly displaying the right buttons that you're pressing. And other than that, just keep in mind your tilts, right? Like tilt 2, for example, if I press Y1, there we go. But once I press X1, it's going to unhighlight tilt 2 because the Y direction is using Y1, it out-prioritized tilt, and the X direction is using X1, it out-prioritized tilt. So now there's nothing left over from tilt 2. It's basically ineffective. So keep in mind, certain combinations of modifiers may entirely get rid of your tilt, right? Because you're overriding it completely. The other thing is with mode, my mode inverts my left and right, but it's ambiguous. So I'm actually tapping mode right now and it mirrors, but because my left and right directions are the same, 100% fully left and right, it's not detecting that mode's pressed when I use it, right? Same for my down diagonals. But my up diagonal is different. So it's able to detect when mode's pressed, and you'll see it's not actually inverting my left and right because I'm still holding up and right. So when I press it, it's doing what it should, is it only detects that mode's being pressed, and it's just tapping and releasing mode, right? So that's what you want to see. And that's the software, guys. One last thing I'm going to do is just show you about customization, right? So in the skins folder, in the particular profile that you're using, you've got all the button images, right? And you can put your own buttons in here to make it use a different, set of buttons. Like you can skin it the way that you want it skinned. I'm going to put a folder in there that has a clean set of these buttons. These buttons actually have a white ring around the outside of the button. And that's just so that when it anti-aliases, it's super clean every time. So that there's no like black gunk left over every time when you're pressing and releasing the buttons. But I'll have a nice clean version that doesn't have white surrounding the outside of the buttons, because what you might want to do is, instead of using the base default blank background, maybe you want to use a nice custom background, right? So you can do that, and all you have to do is, just name it base.png, right? So this is base 1. If I change that to just be base.png, this will be what it uses, and I can have a nice custom background. But right now, because of these little white circles around it, each of the buttons is going to have a little white circle around the outside of the button. So just keep that in mind. And that's how you customize the background and the button images for whatever you're using. And each one has a very specific naming convention. So just find the buttons you need and change the buttons you need. And that's it, guys. Hopefully it works well enough for you. Hopefully there's not any like big bugs. I haven't tested it at all with duplicate buttons, so hopefully that's not really a problem. And one other thing is, it will detect based off of the buttons that you've mapped. Let's say I have tilt 1 and tilt 2 mapped, right? But not tilt 3. So when it detects a tilt 3 input, it highlights both tilt 1 and tilt 2. If I had tilt 3 mapped, then it would prioritize and only highlight tilt 3. So it will do that based on, and it'll do that for tilt, X, and Y mods. So it'll detect like, oh, you've got tilt 3 mapped. I'm detecting tilt 3. I'm only going to highlight that button. Otherwise, I'm going to do 1 plus 2. And so, yeah, guys, hopefully, you're able to use it successfully. There's no like major bugs that pop up. Hopefully it's not too complicated to install it and get it running. Let me know in the comments if you need any help. Maybe I'll have to make some like thread about it on Smashboards or something. I don't fucking know, but yeah, best of luck, and I'll see you guys in the future. Peace.